Okay, we are back to part three, I guess, of our repair on the out-of-the-box failed Crosman 2240. I put my valve in a vise after covering both halves with painter's tape. If you haven't seen some of my disassembly videos, that's what I typically do to protect the finish. Just go ahead and wrap a number of times with masking tape or painter's tape. Went ahead, put it in my vise, did not have to apply a wrench or anything to the top. Once I had it even lightly clamped in, I was able to loosen it with my hand, and I thought I'd go ahead and turn on the camera so that you can go with me from there. Now, looking at it, this is the first I've been inside. This looks pretty standard, as does the inside there. Okay. Okay, that felt a little rough coming out. I wonder if we're leaking at the back there. Actually, wow, that feels odd. Ooh. Yeah, I think we might have a problem in back here. I think it was Joseph, I believe, was making a recommendation about what I might do there, if that's where the problem was. What happens in here, of course, for those of you that aren't aware, is normally this is under spring pressure and it's forced to the back of the valve. If you're able to see into the valve there, you'll see at the back there is a seat, a lip, that the synthetic part here of this seal sits on and should push against. When the hammer strikes it, it works against this spring and pushes that poppet, we call it, up against this valve spring and releases CO2 into a hole, the transfer hole that's now covered. And then the spring here should return it to a closed position. Now, two things that I'm going to do now that I have this out is I'm going to first of all blow this all out with compressed air. And then I'll probably go ahead and clean and rub everything down with Ballistol and go ahead and look at reassembly here. If we were modifying this valve for additional power, one of the typical modifications is to remove part of these threads here, and that would increase the interior volume of this cavity in the valve and let it store more CO2 to be discharged each time. That's a mild way to increase. Actually, you can get a pretty good increase because you really only need 2 or 3 threads there, so you can take a good bit off. Okay, well, we'll blow this out, clean it, assemble it again. I want to get some magnification and look at my seal here. Make sure this thing's not nicked or damaged in any way that I can see. And we will take a really good look at it, lubricate it all, clean it all, and reassemble it, and hope that we have solved our problem. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, well, we've blown it all out and cleaned it and put a little bit of oil on it, just rubbing it around with our finger on all of our O-rings, seals, springs. Okay, let's do this. Let's okay. All right, more, please. There we go. believe that to be a good bit tighter than what it was. Okay, everything's in place. Valve operates smoothly-ish. Alright, we'll go ahead and unwrap her, reinstall her, and give it another try. Okay, we are largely together again. I just need to put the front sight blade back on and install a CO2 cartridge, and we will go ahead and give it another go here. All that I really did this time was clean and lubricate parts, so not sure that I actually helped that valve any. I am hopeful, but not overly optimistic. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and take bets in the comments, I will let you know which way it worked out. And otherwise, we have a couple of shots at some return authorization processes that I guess we'll have to go through, or we give up on that valve and either switch that valve or start switching components of the valve. But it's not super fun putting these together and taking them apart, so I would rather switch an assembly than pieces of the subassembly, because yeah, it's a lot of wear and tear on both the air gun and on me. So anyway, okay, this is Al from the future. Yes, I did diagnose the problem with this pistol. After reassembling it, charging it, shooting it, and quite frankly, when I was up late at night, listening very carefully to the sound of the discharge, was about to dig around for the stethoscope, but things were quiet enough I could discern with my ear that most of the gas was discharging through the barrel. And as I'd very much come to suspect, that means that it is leaking through the transfer port, which means, of course, that it's leaking at the back end of the valve, where the poppet seals it against the rear sealing base of that brass valve. Now, it is not because of the hammer spring or anything like that. How you can discern that is by cocking it. When you cock it, it pulls the hammer back to where the sear holds it, so it can't push on the back of the valve. So there was no change in the discharge of that, which tells me it's not related to the hammer spring. It's clearly related to the sealing at the back of that. And looking at the poppet itself, that material looked like it may wear in through use and perhaps come to fit better and seal better. You can't really tell, and I've heard in the comments that others have had a similar problem and diagnosed it to that same point. You can't really discern whether it's the manufacturer of the valve seat or the poppet. Now, by switching components, one could narrow that down. Frankly, I'm not interested in diagnosing their problem that far at the moment. And part of that gets into where I came up with the title, Problem Diagnosed, but the Troubles Have Begun. And one of the recommendations in the comment from one of my favorite viewers, Papa T, was, you should probably talk to Crosman. And I have. So let's talk about that journey. I did go to both Crosman and Amazon both. So let's discuss that. Trouble resolution process. So when I got the pistol, I, as a YouTuber, a airgun enthusiast, and a repair person and modifier, was very curious what the actual problem was. At the same time, inside of me, both as a reviewer and as a human being, is always that youngster that grew up shooting these things, to which this represents a significant investment, often an opportunity that came around a couple of times a year, birthday and Christmas. And had I purchased this, where would I be? Well, I'd be very disappointed. as would my mom if she had purchased it for me, or that kind of a thing. And what I would have done is gone back to the place I bought it and said, "Hey, this thing I just got it. I opened the box. It doesn't work. Can I get a new one?" So that's what I did here. Um, First thing I did once I was aware it was clearly leaking is go to Amazon, as I mentioned in that video I was going to. And in even starting the process, the first thing Amazon said to me is, "Whoa, non-returnable item." Don't want to hear it, buddy. You bought a non-returnable item. To which I didn't know I was buying a non-returnable item. That was not clear to me. What does that mean? So I pushed the process very aggressively with Amazon and spent probably a good hour and a half through their systems, including talking to a live person, which if you've ever tried to get to a live person at Amazon, you will understand that hour and a half is not an overestimate. Live person again's telling me, no, 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 ain't gonna replace it for you. You gotta talk to the manufacturer. You shouldn't have bought a non-refundable item. So in pushing it harder, I finally got them to agree to allow me to take a video of my item and pictures, excuse me, not a video, but pictures, complete a form and submit all of this within a specific time frame, and they would give me a ruling, which may be, hey, it's a non-returnable item. So I went ahead and I made my video and was moving along on trying to fix it. And after the next video and being more aware of the fact that it was defective, I went to Crosman because the other thing Amazon does is it's throw you Crosman support as a potential way to fix your problem. My experience at Crosman. As I entered Crosman, I spoke to a very kind representative, a woman that I would guess to still be in New York, and immediately upon hearing about my experience, said, "Wow, I think you probably got a bad seal in there. That pistol needs to be replaced." Let me give you, and I explained to her my experience with Amazon. And she said, "No, that's concerning and disappointing. I have an 800 number here that I'm supposed to be able to give to people like you. Let me go ahead and give you that 800 number and see if you can find satisfaction there. Otherwise, call us back. This is supposed to work." So she gave me the 800 number. I called it, and what it ended up doing was basically texting to me additional forms that I can fill out and submit. Now, it is an Amazon 800 number. It is a different process than take a picture and get a ruling that I was able to get out of Amazon. So, I don't know how it will work. But to answer the question, Crossman answered the phone intelligently, as I would have expected, and offered another process. I'll engage that process and see what happens with it. I've just come to the point where I know that I don't want to fix this thing. I mean, if I were fixing it right now, I would swap in a new valve, just because the time alone to take a pistol apart and put it back together, versus the cost of a valve. I'm going to talk to my buddy that is a warranty repair center from Crossman and ask him what he would have done and where he would have gone on this. My guess is he would have swapped the valve assembly from word go. But I will report to you guys on what I find out there as well. So that's where the saga is right now. Now, after all the work I've done, it is leaking slower. And I did get a number of useful shots out of it. As I say, the wear-in theory, perhaps the parts were machined with a little less precision or slightly out of tolerance, and perhaps through wearing in. This gun's probably had 6 cartridges through it now. Not all of them being shot, part of them having a few shots and then draining. So my thought was to since either process involves pictures being sent away and me waiting for help, I'll probably continue to run some shots through it and see if, in fact, it will wear in. That was some of the problem with early Chinese manufacture of other products. They weren't finished quite as finely. And in firearms, this would happen sometimes. And, it would take a number of rounds to where they really wore in, to where we would get the kind of reliability that we expected out of them. So that is part three for the saga of the 2240 that failed out of the box. My recommendation to you, still an excellent pistol, still a very good buy. Buy yours from Pyramid Air. Pay for their program where they test it before they ship it and see if it leaks. That's going to alleviate any problem that you might have. If I was a mom buying one for my kid, I'd spend that money and make sure that the birthday or Christmas present worked and avoid all of this trouble you're seeing right now. At least until things change. That's what I would do. Hey, thanks a lot, and I will see you on the next one.